I taught driving lessons last year, which was
Oh, that's cool.
it was a lot of fun. I was it's certainly a nervous job at some points, so I didn't want to do it very long. But
Like that.
well, I was mostly teaching teenagers, and I would be in the passenger seat.
Oh my gosh.
They would be driving.
I'm surprised you got all your hair. I've lost mine. I didn't even go through that. So, oh
Most of
man.
the kids were pretty well behaved. It was only
Okay.
once in the blue moon you'd get a troublemaker.
Yeah, I can't imagine. That's the last place you want them to act up when they have, sort of your life in their hands. So.
Yeah.
So today I'm thrilled to be joined by someone who I'd easily describe as an absolute wizard of the homebrew realm, Patrick Bene. The creative force behind Pubby Games doesn't just make NES games. He builds languages, codes custom tools, designs hardware, and somehow finds time to write in-depth technical guides that are as generous as they are brilliant. From unforgettable NES titles like We Are Hejickle and Star Evil, to groundbreaking work like creating NestFab, a language built specifically for 8-bit development. Patrick's work pushes the boundaries of what retro game development can be. Whether you're a dev, a collector, or just love seeing weird and wonderful things run on a Nintendo, there's a good chance he's made something you'll find absolutely wild. Patrick, welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Hey, welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
Those are some kind
absolutely.
words. I appreciate it.
No worries. Yeah, it was super. I mean, not that you have to impress me, but I was super impressed going through your whole website and all your experience and what you're bringing to this scene. So really happy for you to be here. And you can find Patrick at Pubby, PUBBY.games, GAMES. So please go there and check out all the things he's been working on. So of course, I want to know, like any good interview and conversation, your origin story. So could you sort of tell me a little bit about your background, how you got into game development? Sort of a lot of this stuff starts with our childhood. So was that an influence, sort of gaming when you were younger?
Sure. So let's see. So the NES kind of predates me. I'm a lot younger than that. Growing up, I mostly was a PC gamer.
Okay.
The games like Age of Empires, stuff like that.
Sure.
When I was maybe about 7 or 8, I found a website that had a bunch of kind of an archive of old computer stuff. They had Atari, they had Commodore, ColecoVision. So I used to download stuff from that website. And then after playing that really old stuff, I found they had some Nintendo games. So that was kind of my introduction to the NES.
Okay.
It's kind of funny at that time, like this was before YouTube, but nobody really talked about the NES at that time, or at least not the people a 7 or 8-year-old kid would talk to. But nobody was talking about it with me, so I didn't really know. I didn't even know really what it was. And honestly, lots of the games I played back then were terrible. I played Ghostbusters. I played.
Oh my God! Yeah, that is terrible. Oh my God!
I didn't know what what Mario was. I didn't know what
Okay.
I did
You
play
missed that whole thing.
Yeah. I did play a few good ones. So I had a Kirby's Adventure, which I loved.
Yeah, it's cool.
So anyway, around that time, about 7 or 8, I was interested in game development too. I got into that with a tool. It was called Game Maker, which I think is still around. It's totally different now, but back then it was quite simple. It was you kind of drag and drop icons to create games.
Yeah, I think a lot of home brewers started with that. Yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah. So I was doing that at the same time. Made some horrible games, but it was a lot of fun.
Sure.
But I remember having a thought while I was doing these kind of at the same time, playing the NES games and making my own games. And I kind of knew what I was doing. It wasn't on the same level as like Kirby's Adventure. And I remember just having this thought, like, man, I wish one day I knew how they made these NES games. I wish I would be on that level. So that was just kind of one of my childhood goals, to grow up and make my own or something. So
how old do you think you were at that time, like thinking already about game dev?
Did you say how old?
Yeah, how old do you think you were when you first started thinking about that?
About 7
Oh
or 8.
Okay, you already had like those kind of dreams. That's incredible.
Yep, got into it early.
You started you went online, you found resources for these old sort of C64, was Commodore 64, Atari
That was,
2600 games, things like that, moved on to the NES. So why the NES? What
um,
was it about the NES? Because why not
I think it
Super
was just,
NES? Or it's because you're a younger guy.
yeah.
So
So
I
at the
know, like
time,
for myself, growing up NES and Commodore 64, that would have probably been my thing. But yeah.
so at the time as a child, I think the NES was just the best games they had on that website. It was
Okay.
more old stuff. They didn't really have Super Nintendo. They didn't have Genesis on there for whatever
Okay.
reason.
Yeah.
But then as I got older, I think what brought me back was I found out about the NES homebrew scene. I saw on YouTube there was people making these games, and it kind of just brought me back to that original thought I had. Like, I wish I knew how Kirby's Adventure was made. So it was really just kind of coincidence. Later on, it kind of popped back into my life.
Okay.
So I actually knew about homebrew a long time. I just
Mm,
wasn't in the scene. The first ones
okay.
I knew about were Atari games. I played a few Atari homebrews.
Gotcha.
But it was really out of my mind. I didn't really think about it. And then I just saw some YouTube videos and it just piqued my interest again.
Okay.
This was when I was an adult that it piqued my interest again. So.
Okay. So some of the titles that I've gotten to play of yours are We Are Hejickle and Star Evil and Hang Glider. I first wanted to find out a little bit about Hang Glider. Many homebrewers have some kind of something they want to learn when they take on a project. Did you have anything particular in mind when you did Hang Glider? I just noticed for myself, I loved the feel of the turns, like I don't know if you would consider that physics, the physics of it or not, but to me, like the way it sort of, it felt really natural. The hang time, sort of, I could say, when you're turning. Yeah.
So Hang Glider, it was made as a kind of a demo or an example for my NestFab language, which I guess we'll get into later.
Mm-hmm.
It was really made as something I wanted, something simple that people could kind of learn from. The game design, it's not too original. It was based on a WarioWare game. If you're familiar with that, there was
Mm-hmm.
I think it was called Paper Airplane. There was a little mini game
Yeah.
everywhere. So it was just my own adaptation of that.
Gotcha.
It was just a small thing, but
Now,
yeah.
getting that feel of the hang glider, was that something difficult? How did you go about getting that feel? If you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Because it is kind of different.
Yeah. It's like a little
Uh,
slight real hesitation or something like it would really feel like when you're riding the wind. So,
yeah, and again, some of it's just copying that WarioWare game, but
okay.
a lot of it takes kind of just fiddling with the numbers. When you're traveling left and right, your vertical speed slows down and stuff like that. You can't just mess with the
Yeah.
physics until it feels realistic.
Okay. Okay. So it's just like process of elimination. You're like, okay, a little bit of too much of this, a little bit, not enough of that feel, and just go
Yeah,
back
a
and
lot of
forth.
it's you keep fixing it until you're not getting mad with it anymore.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm dying too much. Let's make it easier, and you just kind of mess with it. So
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. I appreciated certain parts of the level where you could just go straight for a while. And so, oh, if I don't go left or right, as long as I
yeah,
stay
yeah.
steady,
It's always kind of fun. You can pick up speed and just go for it. So.
Yeah, exactly. Next, I have to get you to talk about Star Evil. I actually hesitated to dig into this one because people should really experience this for themselves, I think. Do you agree? So,
I think so too.
okay, great. So I'm calling it a piece for a reason. To me, this one really feels almost like an art installation, if
Yeah,
you will. So I can imagine walking around in this world. It reminds me, there's a facility in Columbus, Ohio called Otherworld. I don't know if you've heard of that,
I don't
but
think I've heard of that one.
yeah, check it out. Otherworld.com
Sure.
probably. I'm not promoting them, but um,
Check it out. Yeah.
yeah, check it out. But this game really reminds me of that sort of concept and um, sort of that visual.
It's
So
kind of weird, is what you're saying.
yeah, yeah. I was actually wondering. You don't have to. be honest, but I was wondering if psychedelics had any part in creating some of these games that I got to play of yours. So there's certain elements that would remind me
Yeah,
of
yeah.
that.
I mean, not directly, but I
Yeah.
think it was more just imitating people who do those. So,
Okay,
um,
what would this game look like if I were on psychedelics? So
yeah,
yeah,
I
that's
can
what
kind of I can kind of tell you what I was thinking. So when I joined the NES community, this was about 10 years ago. A lot of the community was at that point based around the love of the system, where it was a bunch of hardware guys, a bunch of people who had like encyclopedic knowledge of everything related to the hardware. But there wasn't as many like there wasn't the creative push I was used to. Back when I was making Game Maker games, it was totally different. It was almost entirely creative. There wasn't really a programming focus. There wasn't really anything else. It was just a bunch of people making weird stuff, basically.
Mhm.
So it was these two communities. On my my earlier ones was weird stuff. My newer ones, it's more hardware-y stuff.
Okay.
So when I made Star Evil, it was kind of taking that stuff I was doing with Game Maker and bringing it to the NES community. And it
Mm.
kind of blew the NES community away because they had never seen stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, I think people who do other are in other areas of game development though they're kind of they're not as amazed by it. I think they're more like, oh, this is just one of those weird games that people.
Ah, I gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah. They like snub their nose at you.
yeah, and that's I kind of agree with it because I've seen a lot of those weird games too. So
Okay. So you're not really impressed with yourself coming up with that.
I enjoy it, but
Mhm.
it's just interesting seeing the different perspectives for people who haven't seen that before. They're like, whoa,
Yeah, yeah. Just thought it was really neat.
yeah.
So, who is Ralph?
So Ralph was the first game I made when I was like 7.
Ah, okay.
And it was very
So,
bad, but I keep him around because I like him. Like,
okay, great. He seems like someone important to you. So, like for everybody listening or watching, you'll notice if you go to Patrick's website, Ralph is part of several of your games, sort of within them.
yeah,
So,
he's I guess he's like a dwarf or a
mm.
gnome or something. He wears a one of those. It's like stocking cap or it's like a Santa.
Oh, that
Like a
is
Santa hat.
Ralph.
Yeah, that's the
Okay,
character.
he's
I,
Ralph.
I don't know what I was thinking when I made him, but I've kept him around because
Okay.
nostalgia.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really cool, and it made me question because I saw his name pop up several times, and I was like, okay, what's the connection there? Hmm.
Just kind of a running gag I got going. So
Yeah, love it. So when creating an NES game, could you sort of high level view, could you walk us through, the process of is there a way you come up with the idea and then what you do first, how you do graphics or whatever?
yeah, so with NES, I think compared to more modern tools, you have to plan ahead a lot.
Hmm.
You have to lay everything out. You have to know how many levels am I going to do, how many enemies, how much time can I spend. So a lot of planning. What helps, and this is kind of I don't want to say a secret in game development, but this is something that outsiders may not know. A lot of game development is copying existing games.
Sure, sure. It's
Um,
everything, I think.
yeah, it's everything's kind of built on each other. So
Yeah.
usually I look to
No
some other
one's
games.
really super creative.
Yeah, so I looked at other games and I kind of okay, let's do this idea and let's combine it with this idea and then plan everything out and then we can get going. Um, I guess you want me to go into tools or
Yeah,
what?
just however you want to take it, but once you come up with the idea, like how does it work? Because I don't think most people know about sort of how homebrew works. Now, do you come up with music first? Do you create the graphic assets? Do you just start programming?
Sure, sure.
Like, yeah, how does that work?
But it depends on the person. It
Sure.
depends on
I just want to know yours.
the setup. Originally, it was always start with the programming, and
Okay.
so it's pretty typical with me. You can use placeholder graphics. You can just draw a little smiley face, and
Mhm.
that's your character for now.
I gotcha.
So I usually start with the programming. I usually start with the hardest problems I'm trying to tackle.
Mm,
The NES is maybe what fancy effects do I want to use? Like, let's see how many enemies I can get on the screen before it starts to lag, that sort of thing.
sure.
So you kind of test that out. Once you're happy with it, then it's graphics next. Music's always pretty much the last thing because that's really easy just to add in later. So
Okay.
yep.
Now,
And
did you do your own music for these games, or you
so
collab
sometimes,
with somebody? Okay.
sometimes I do the graphics sometimes too. I think in terms of skill set, I'm best at programming
Mm.
and art, and then music.
You just
I
throw something
always
together.
what did you say?
You just throw something together at the end, like, oh, I gotta finish
I
this.
wish I could actually. For me, it's just very torturous. It takes me a lot longer than I think.
Oh, okay.
Like I have some musician friends, and I'll say, "Can you
Hmm.
write me something?" And then they're done. And for me, it's
Yeah.
like I'll spend a month and I create one song.
Mm. Hey, whatever it takes, long as it's your
Yeah.
baby. Do you get swayed by public opinion? So when you come out with an idea for a game, do you try to think, oh, what would people like? Or I need to stay more true to retro NES kind of styling, or should I do more modern design? Or
So I think with me, it's always just been I want to make what I want to make. it's
cool.
it's it's the games I want to play basically.
Hmm.
I've I've never been really chasing trends, and I can get away with that because a lot of my stuff has been just a hobby.
Yeah.
Now that I'm doing some commercial stuff, I'm a little worried. Like maybe I should do some more research. But it's worked. People like my stuff. So
Yeah, and that's powerful because um it, you're never going to please everybody. So I think most really creative stuff comes from sort of getting away from people's opinions and seeing what you can come up with.
sure.
So,
And as I mentioned earlier, again, I'm really standing on the shoulders of giants. I am copying other stuff. I am,
mhm,
remixing.
sure.
So it's not like it's not like these are new ideas. It's
Yeah,
it's just making my own take on it. So
yeah, yeah. I think all the greats have done that to some degree, so you're not alone in that. Mm. I think one of the most nerve-wracking or exciting parts of developing a game, I would imagine, because I don't do that, is seeing people play. Have you been in that situation where you got to observe people play your games and
yeah,
interact with them?
for me, that's always like that's the best feeling because you
Mm,
spend all this, you spend months working on it, and then finally you get to see people experience it. Um, Thankfully, usually the homebrew community is quite nice. You don't have
mm,
people trash talking there. um, there's a little bit of nerves there. Like what if they don't like it? What if they, But I just always feel happy to see people playing my stuff.
mm.
And I'm just very thankful because sometimes like why would anyone want to play Hang Glider? But to hear people interested, it's like oh that's I'm glad. I feel good about that. So.
Yeah, yeah, you should. That's good. Hmm. A big thing that comes up for most home brewers is the idea of limitations. What's your philosophy behind that? How do you feel about that concept of old consoles limitations?
I love it.
Uh-huh.
There's some quote. I'm probably butchering the quote. It's like um, restriction is what creates creativity.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's
Um, I just feel way better working under it. I feel like I can focus my efforts more on what I want to do and not worry about other stuff.
mhm,
One thing that I'm not, one thing that kind of pushed me away from bigger game development is that it's bigger.
mhm,
There's a lot more stuff to worry about, and you're competing with real huge game studios and all this. What's nice about the NES is you don't have to worry about if your graphics are the best thing ever. You don't
mhm.
have to worry about if your game is 40 hours of content.
Yeah,
It's very freeing, and that lets you kind of focus on what you want to do, and I like that.
yeah, that's a good point. Mhm. And one of your newer, maybe one of the current things that you're working on is Crystal Mines Supernova. Is that right?
Yep.
With Husk Brew. So let's go a little bit into that. What can you tell us about that? I know it's still in development, but
Yes, I guess I can first explain what is Crystal Mines.
yeah, yeah, definitely start with that. I had never played it, so I was like looking online last night actually, and like checking out the gameplay. So I'm a
Sure,
little
yeah.
familiar,
So
but
I'm not the expert here, but I can kind of fill you in. Crystal Mines, it was I guess you call it like a bootleg game, an unofficial game. Back when the NES was around, Nintendo wanted to license all their games. They wanted to have control over everything that was released. But there was a
sure,
few companies kind of releasing their own stuff, kind of a black market, if
gotcha.
um,
The
Crystal Mines is one of
underground
those games.
NES.
Yeah. So Crystal Mines, it was kind of an action game, kind of a puzzle game. It's quite similar to Boulder Dash. That was
Mhm.
kind of what it was based on, if you know Boulder
I
Dash.
loved Boulder Dash. Yeah, I
Yeah,
would play
yeah,
that on the C60, Commodore 64. So
yeah. um, for those who don't know, you're mining in a cave and you push boulders around, and the boulders can fall on you and kill you, stuff like that. But Crystal Mines was a little more action based. There was more enemies, you more shooting, killing stuff, that sort of thing. And it was, I guess you could say, the favorite childhood game of the Hoskinson brothers. That's where
okay.
the Hasbro comes from. It's these two brothers, Hoskinson. So they reached out to me. They actually bought the rights to the original game,
That's cool.
and they're like, "We want to re-release this, and we want to make a sequel to it."
Ah,
Like,
that's cool.
okay, I can do that.
Okay.
um, so Crystal Mines has actually had a few sequels. There's literally a Crystal Mines 2, and then there's like a Crystal Mines on the DS or something. There's a few of these, and there's actually sequels where they took the original game and they added a bunch of Bible characters, and they have Crystal Mines Bible versions.
Oh, get out. Are they
um,
still crushing the monsters?
it's quite similar. I
Oh
think
my
there's
God,
like biblical monsters
that's
or
very
something. And
Christian. Yeah.
yeah, you like collect cross. I don't know, but that
That's
was on the
cool. I
NES
gotta
too.
check that out just for the flavor.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting and funny. But
Yeah.
so I because there were so many existing sequels, I wanted to be a little bit different. I just didn't want to make the same game over and over. So
Yeah.
I, the idea is at least make it a little bit different. That's my
Mhm.
approach.
Are you able to tell us sort of what might be different about this title?
Yeah,
Or
I think so. That it's still in development. Well,
yeah, that's why
it's
I want to be
mostly
sensitive
finished.
to that. But
So the big thing is, in the original game, you only had one robot, and in this version, we're having 9 robots. And you
whoa.
actually get kind of a team of these robots. Usually you control 2, and you can play co-ops. You can have 2 people, each has their own robot, and they kind of solve the puzzle together.
Okay.
So that's the biggest change.
Yeah, a lot of people are really liking the, co-op and multiplayer games. So that might be a really nice addition to that feature. Cool. Okay. So you're working on Crystal Mines Supernova. How are you developing that? Are you using C or, um,
Yeah,
assembly code or?
this is using my own programming language, the NestFab, which I guess we'll get into
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
soon.
let's do that now. That's my attempt at a smooth
Yeah,
segue.
yeah.
I'm sorry. It didn't pull off quite as well, but
I
yeah,
kind of
talk
thought you were
about what
going
you
for that, but I didn't want to. Anyway,
No. No, not at
so
all. But yeah, you're follow my trail. So
um,
yeah, definitely I want to know about
so
this programming language or at least
yeah.
development kit.
What'd you say?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you would call it. Is a programming language or development kit or
It's kind
how
of
would
both. I think
okay,
programming language is more accurate, but it
okay,
is kind of slightly bigger than most programming languages.
okay.
So I can explain. But when I first got into NestDev, obviously I didn't have a language. I was using assembly.
Mm-hmm.
Assembly is the very, very direct way of programming. Hardware. It's what the hardware actually runs. Um, I guess we would say it's low level. I don't know if that means
Mm,
much to non-programmers, or low abstraction. It basically means direct commands. You're not building up these complicated ideas. You're just telling the computer what to do. You're saying, add these 2 numbers. You're not saying, run a complicated ME routine. It's much more direct.
it's like
Hard to
closer
explain.
to, is it fair to say it's closer to like ones and zeros
It's,
than
it's definitely closer to that. I mean, it is
yeah,
still programming. You're still using commands and stuff, but it's
yeah,
it's
okay.
closer to the hardware.
Okay.
Um, So yeah, I made my first few games with that, and I was actually a big believer in that. At the time, there was really two options. There was assembly and there was C.
Mm-hmm.
C is, again, the higher level. It's more abstract, more you're up in the clouds, basically. You gotta do more stuff.
Mm.
But there's a lot of downsides with C at the time.
Mm.
So I wasn't a believer in it. I thought,
Okay.
I'm gonna use assembly now forever.
Oh, whoa.
That kind of
That's
changed
hardcore.
that kind of changed once I had more experience. I
Mm.
realized assembly actually has some big flaws, and these flaws become apparent when you're making bigger games.
Mm.
So that kind of pushed me, like, maybe I should look into making my own language. So that's where NestFab came from.
Okay. At this time, were things like the NES kit available? Like any of those other kind of developer kits for the Nintendo? Or did
Uh,
you ever consider using those
are you
styles?
talking about like Nest Maker?
Yeah, NES Maker, and I think there was one, correct me if you know differently. I thought there was one called NES Kit. So like a development kit.
There could
Okay.
be.
Okay.
I'm not
Okay.
sure about. I know there's a new one. I think it's someone ported GB Studio to NES.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
There's a
that's
few on
another
them.
one. Yeah, exactly.
So when I started, there wasn't really.
Okay.
This project has taken years. It's been a very slow burn.
Gotcha.
Um, but then when NestMaker came out, it was a different approach than me, so I felt comfortable still proceeding.
Mm.
NestMaker is more like that Game Maker tool I used to make. It's
Mm.
more of a tool where you kind of drag and drop stuff.
Yeah.
It's more intended for either beginners or people who wouldn't normally program. You know, they wouldn't. That's not really their forte. They're more artists or musicians or whatever wanting to try it.
Gotcha.
This has more for programmers. It's more like a professional level tool is what I'm going for. It's kind of like a Photoshop for making NES games. You know,
Okay. That sounds really cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Was it difficult, or I guess that's a stupid question, but like, what was your thought process to develop that? Or did it happen sort of organically as you were making games? You sort of got, oh, I can make this thing easier, and then you built on it, if that
So
makes sense.
yeah, I kind of see where you're going for. So with NestFab, it was just a huge undertaking, and it was
That's
the type of project where I couldn't really use it until I was done with it. So that made development very rough for me because
yeah.
it was, again, years long, and the whole
Mm,
process, I was like, I wasn't even sure if this was going to work. I wasn't sure if I could make a game with it because maybe it just wouldn't work out. Um, the biggest things I was trying to solve with it, one was performance. So historically, like the C compilers, they produce very slow code. So if you made a game with them, you couldn't have much going on because the game would lag badly. Assembly just was way faster. You could have twice as much stuff with assembly. So I wanted something that was pretty fast, you know. And I also wanted something that could deal with, I guess you call it like large ROM sizes.
okay.
This is getting technical fast, but
No, go right
on the
ahead.
NES, you the hardware can only address a small amount of memory at a time, and that amount of memory is about the size of the original Super Mario Bros.
Mm,
Lots of games are bigger than that.
yeah.
If you have a larger game, you have to split your game up into these little tiny chunks called banks,
Hmm.
and that's a very tedious process to do manually. You kind of have to, again, split everything up you're working on, split all your code, split up all your levels, all that, and kind of manually assign it. And I was like,
So
I'm
you have
sick
to
of doing
plan
this.
ahead of time?
What'd you say?
So you would have to sort of plan ahead of time,
Yeah,
which bank it was going to
pretty
go
much
into?
every little piece of content you worked on, you're like, I want to put this in this bank. I want to put this in that bank.
Whoa.
And sometimes you would realize, oh, I did it wrong, and then you'd have to go back and manually move all this stuff, and it would be
Shuffle.
basically a waste of time, but it
Yeah.
was necessary. So
Okay.
stuff like that, I was like, I'm sick of doing that with assembly. I want a tool that does it for me.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big motivation for NestFab.
Yeah, I can
Just
imagine.
similar stuff. There's variables have a similar problem and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, let's simplify it. So that was where NestFab came from.
Okay, cool. Now, how does MapFab fit into that?
Yes, MapFab's it's like a level editor. Something I wanted it to be pretty generic. You could use it for lots of different games. So, before that, back in the day, I was using other level editors. There's one called Tiled.
Yeah,
There's a
I've
few
heard of
other
that.
ones, yeah. Those work, but you have to write your own conversion scripts to convert their format to your format. Since I had my own programming language, like maybe I could streamline that. Maybe I could have the programming language do the conversion for you. So I just made my own tool that's focused on the NES. It fits right into what the NES can do. And then my programming language just fairly easily converts it into the format you want to use for the game. So it's just a streamlining. And I thought it would be nice for newer people who didn't want to spend all that time writing conversion scripts.
Yeah, you're saving a lot of people time and frustration and tearing their hair out. Yeah. You're doing good work, Patrick.
Thank you.
So, I saw on the website you consider it NestFab still in beta. Is that right?
Yeah.
What do you need to do to bring
Well,
it
I
out?
think partly I put that on there because there's still bugs in it, and I want like a
Sure.
little bit of
Little cush.
safety net so people aren't like, why is my program not working?
Yeah. I
So,
understand that. Okay.
yeah, that's kind of the
So,
problem with creating your own languages. There's a lot of bugs, and
mhm.
NestFab ended up a lot more complicated than I want. There's all these optimizations happening. There's all this data that gets pushed around and all this. There's a ton of bugs in it. That's probably the biggest downside, the biggest hesitancy I would recommend. I might not recommend it to everyone because you're going to hit some bugs, and that's an issue. It's not an issue for me because I can fix the bugs, but if you're a new person, you're going to be like, what's going on here?
That's what I was going to say. For you, it might not seem buggy because already know how to work around everything the way it's set up. But for somebody brand new, that's the danger. Somebody just taking it on and they're not familiar with what it might have trouble with or something. So yeah, I can
Exactly.
understand. Mhm. What kind of feedback have you gotten from the community about NestFab?
It's been good. It seems like a good amount of people have used it. Maybe every month or so, there's a new project being created with it, which that blows my socks off. I'm very, very pleased that people seem to really like it and enjoy it. Definitely still kind of niche. The community's, again, lots of people doing assembly, lots of people doing C, lots of people doing, and then lots of people doing NestFab, but it's still over here. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
very,
still
very
one.
happy with it.
Cool. So it's word starting to get around about it.
Yeah. Again, like each time a new game comes out with NestFab, it's like a little more people seem interested, a little more feedback, a little more attention. So,
Do you do anything on purpose to promote it or get it more out there in the homebrew community?
so I've advertised a little bit with the general programming community. I think they're more interested in just hearing about it. They like to read my articles on it. They like to.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think just the general programmers they don't actually want to dive in. It's more the people already in the homebrew scene that want to dive into it. But it's definitely a lot of interest. I've got tons of people at least know about it, even if they're not using it. So,
Okay. What do you think stops people who are like independent developers from stepping into sort of the more homebrew, like retro console programming and developing?
I think two reasons. Well, for one of these, they don't have time. They probably have a busy software job. But second, I think NestFab, I described it kind of as a professional tool. So it doesn't really hold your hand in the beginning. The NES, there's a learning curve to it. I think some people, they kind of hit that wall and they bounce off of it. So that's unfortunate, but again, it's, can't really avoid too much learning.
From my understanding, a lot of homebrew developers started out with the Nerdy Nights tutorials. Are you familiar with them? Did you start off with that too, or?
So not that one.
Okay.
I am familiar with it. I know that's been very helpful to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's sort of like standard, I guess, has become
Yeah,
the standard for entry.
I've recommended that to people too. People ask like, "How do I just use this tutorial?"
Go
For me, it was just reading there's a NestFab wiki, and I just read that like a book when I got started. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, it worked for
Yeah.
me.
Okay. Do you feel like it's important to preserve Nintendo NES gaming culture, or is that one of your motivations? Though some people want.
Yeah, I think that's a better question. So for me, no,
Mhm.
I'm not. This is kind of interesting. I mentioned before I was coming into this from a different game dev community.
Yeah.
For me, the NES is interesting just as kind of a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I like it just kind of from the programming side. It's kind of quirky. It's kind of different. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
restrictions. That's what interests me.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, they either grew up with the system, they're very nostalgic about it, or again, they just like to build that kind of encyclopedic knowledge of it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of different. There's kind of three different groups here. I really appreciate everyone. I think everyone's kind of helping each other out.
Sure.
It's just interesting to see how different people have different motivations. For me, I don't really have an attachment to the system other than I like it. I didn't grow up with it really, other than playing
Mm-hmm.
some games when I was a kid. So different takes, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, so many different backgrounds, and you're not alone. There's a number of homebrew developers that have come out with a lot of games where they didn't grow up, even though maybe the Nintendo was out and popular, they didn't grow up with it. So they didn't sort of discover it until college or university and sort of found it that way. So it's interesting, how everybody in this community sort of discovered where they fit in or where they
Yeah,
want to be.
it's kind of funny. I didn't even own an NES for a long time.
Mhm.
I had several names to my, I created several games before I got my first NES.
Ah, that's great. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
hilarious.
kind of funny.
Mhm. Now, we've talked about some of the games you've come out with and the software end of it, but you do have your hands in the hardware as well and sort of DIY creations. Is there anything you'd want to bring up, things like projects you've worked on regarding hardware that you want to talk about?
So we can talk about the DDR pad if that's that's
Yeah,
of interest.
great. Yeah, you've built,
Yeah,
it's a custom dance pad, right?
yeah. So Dance Pad, it's for Dance Dance Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of side projects. So this was a few months ago, maybe over a year ago. I wanted to play Dance Dance Revolution, and I bought one of those cheap floor mats.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an NES fan, you know the power pad. It's the same idea, just a foam thing you step on to play dancing games. I was using that for a while. I was like, I wish I had something better. Which as a kid, it was kind of the same idea. I was into that game as a kid, and I wanted my own. I thought I could maybe build my own dance pad.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, I didn't know how. I wasn't good enough yet. So I tried it again recently, and I made some dance pads. And kind of just how it worked out, I ended up having. I bought a lot more material than I needed just because it was economical. So I started selling them. So I've sold some dance pads to people. It's been
Yeah,
kind of fun.
and they're available on your website too, right?
Yeah, if you're interested, you can reach out to me.
Okay.
I I can't promise you one. It's kind of when I make them, you can have one, but at least
Okay.
one.
Yeah, Pubby.games.
Yep.
So check that out. And would you update your website when more available, or it's better for them just to try to get in touch with you?
I think just email me and I can kind of keep you in the know. So.
Okay, cool. Okay, so you're working on these games, Crystal Mines Supernova, and you have some hardware projects. How do you balance that, or don't you? You don't have to.
I don't know if I really have to.
Okay.
I think I'm a lot more software focused than most people, or than I let on. Not really a hardware guy. It's more if I have an idea, I might do hardware, but it's really software. So
Okay, cool. And then also on your website, I saw some links for different articles that you've written. Topics like 6502 code generation. So what makes you want to dive into that kind of presenting information?
I think I've just always liked teaching stuff. I like sharing
Okay.
knowledge, and I think that's pretty common in this community and just
Mhm.
game dev in general. People like to share their techniques, their stuff.
Okay.
That one article I mentioned, I was kind of trying to advertise NestFab to the greater programming community, and that was part of it. I was writing some articles kind of to advertise it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And then, I mean, it worked. I got lots of good comments on that article.
Yeah, yeah, it seems really in depth. Most of it's over my head, but yeah, it seemed well thought out, well presented. So seems like I want to repeat, but you're doing some really good work out there, sharing the information and your experience and opening it to more and more people. So I thought that was really good. Do you feel like you're a part of the retro gaming or homebrew communities? Like there are many forums, things like that, conventions. Is that something that's interesting to you to participate
Yeah,
in?
so definitely yes, but not as much as I think lots of people. Um, so I kind of mentioned this again. For me, it's I like the programming, I like the creative side, I like the. I don't care as much about the NES as some people do.
Yeah.
So I've never connected with kind of like the collector side as much of um, the homebrew community. It's interesting. It's kind of split up into different groups. You have
Absolutely.
collector forums, you have programmer forums, and then you have there's like a nest maker community over here.
Mhm.
I'm kind of
Yeah.
creating my own community for NestFab,
I got you.
um,
You're like splitting off
which is a
your,
little bit unfortunate because sometimes it feels a little fragmented where you
yeah,
have people not
creating your
talking
own
to each other.
cell. Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of unfortunate, but we're all kind of still the same family.
Yeah.
I think they're all great communities, though.
Mhm.
Lots of nice people, very supportive.
Yeah.
Um,
I've
and
heard
I
nothing
just
but
always
good
felt
stuff.
very welcomed. I made friends there. So
Cool. Are there any misconceptions people should know about homebrew? Like, are there any like the image of homebrew? I guess is there anything like you think is misrepresented out there?
um,
Or that you would want people to know about the homebrew scene or retro gaming scene?
yeah, I think the only comment that irks me a little bit when I hear it
Yeah,
is some
something
people
like
say, "Oh, nice ROM hack." Like they think you took an existing game and you just changed the graphics. ROM hacks are great.
Mhm.
I'm not
Yeah,
dissing
yeah,
them, but
absolutely. They got their
it's kind
place.
of people don't always understand what the difference between a ROM hack and like a new game is. That's the only thing. I think people are getting the idea of it now. So
That's like I'm very new to the homebrew thing, but in a way, I don't know if homebrew does it justice. You know, I'm like looking at it sort
yeah,
of like from a marketing standpoint. I don't know if the title homebrew limits its entrance into the more mainstream market and things like that. And maybe a lot of the community likes that part. It's like very niche and special. Maybe many people in the community don't want it to become sort of watered down, and it's separate. Keep it a separate thing. But yeah, I'm interested in its survival, its thriving. So yeah, do you think homebrew is a good term to call it, or?
I'm fine with that. I don't care too much. I think there's been some growing pains with it.
Yeah.
So when I got into it about 10 years ago, it was still people in their basement,
Yeah.
just solo projects. I think it's become more commercial over time, and I think a little bit of it, some strife in the community over that. You don't want to be the guy in the basement competing against the corporate entity that's pouring tons of money into stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I also don't know, like, does homebrew apply if it's a commercial game? I don't really care, but there is some issue over that.
Yeah, that's one of the bigger arguments, I guess, is exactly what is a homebrew. Each person has their, I guess, personal definition and then a general definition. And can you call this a homebrew if you are not making it, sort of just hobby, if you're hiring people and things like that. So
Right,
uh,
right.
yeah, that's sort of my motivation for or being hesitant using homebrew, the term, because it might limit the people that might be interested in these kinds of games.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, yeah,
There's kind of a marketing problem. How do you introduce these games? Because
yeah,
and there's also an issue, like some people wouldn't consider these NES games because they're modern. You know, some people have an issue with that, but they
Yeah.
say this isn't the same thing as what I used to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Especially once you get into them pushing the boundaries and the limitations of the original machine. So, through emulation
there's a
and
lot
things
of
like that.
philosophical arguments about that.
Yeah.
Some people are putting so much hardware on there, it doesn't even feel like the NES anymore. It's like, is that, a bunch of nerds are arguing over it like constantly.
Yeah. That's what keeps it, I guess, thriving a little bit. So,
Yeah.
How about, do you consider yourself a gamer? Like,
Yep, I would say that. I mean, I play
okay,
games. I like games. So
okay. What's your go-to? Are you PC gamer? What's your go-to, or would you go back to play NES games since you're developing them?
I think I play more PC games just because that's convenient for me.
Okay. What
I do play
genre?
some. What'd you say?
What genres are you interested in?
All of
RPG?
them. Honestly, I play a lot.
Oh, okay.
More obscure stuff.
Hmm.
I like strategy games. I like creative games. I play a lot of like Dwarf Fortress, if you know that one. I mentioned Age of Empires. I like that one.
Hmm.
I play a bunch. Lots of genres.
Gotcha.
Um, but I play NES. I mostly play it socially. Like if I have someone over, we might play a two-player game or something like that.
Sure, of course. Are there any like non-retro games that you'd be interested in porting if you could choose something?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this. I like card games a lot. I've been playing some single-player card games, like computer games that are card game, like Slay the Spire.
Okay.
There's a new one that's Balatro. I haven't played it yet, but I know it's very popular.
Hmm.
I was thinking the NES doesn't have too much like that. I thought it'd be fun to port
Yeah.
like a card game to the NES. That's the cool thing about the NES is because it's so old. There's been, decades worth of game development that never got ported over. There's so much greenfield of you can use these new ideas to make old games, and it feels fresh because there's nothing on the system like that, which is cool.
Cool. Is there What advice would you give someone who is sort of curious about creating games on the NES? Like, what would you tell them to do, or what advice would you give them?
Let's see. I think it depends on the background.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm talking like straight, like no programming background, but like they hear about, oh, that's a really interesting game. Somebody made that in their basement, and oh, maybe I could do something like that. I grew up with the NES, so.
yeah, so I think if you feel really awkward about the programming, I would look in the Nest Maker and just see if you can make anything.
Mhm.
It feels very rewarding if you can actually get something on the screen that's happening. If you are programming inclined, I would really take a deep dive into it, read all the documentation, really understand everything. Um, it helps too to have prior game making experience. That's probably my biggest recommendation is you don't have to make an NES game as your first game. Pick
Mm.
something easier, pick a computer game and just make stuff, just
Mhm.
get in the habit of figuring out how to do stuff because all that experience is going to transfer.
Mhm.
Um, and you're not going to be making silly mistakes that like on the NES, if you make a mistake, it's a lot harder to fix it. It takes more time. It's more time
Okay,
intensive. So yeah, that's my advice.
I got you. Is there a dream project for you?
For NES or
Anything's okay. Doesn't have to be NES. Is there
um,
something you would like to create that you have sort of working on in the back of your mind? Like someday I would like to do this kind of game or this kind of hardware or anything. Any projects like
uh,
kicking around?
I mean, I got some ideas. A lot of the problem is some of these ideas are so big. I don't know if I can do them on my own.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like if I win the lottery, I could hire a bunch of people and make crazy games that. um,
I'm glad you brought that up. Have you been able to collaborate with other people while making the games that you have?
yeah, but it's usually small scale. So
Hmm.
usually, like I'll use like a musician or I'll use an artist, maybe a team of two or three.
Okay.
Like with this Crystal Mines game, I'm making. We have I think two artists and then a musician. and then that's pretty much it. There's some other help, but small teams.
Okay.
That's pretty typical for NES stuff. But I know nowadays, like if you're a AAA studio, you got probably thousands of employees, and it's a totally different ballgame at that point. So
Yeah, yeah. It's like you never know how the game is made nowadays. It could be like some huge team made it or a solo person. It's like with the technology available and what people have access to now, it's like hard to judge a game like just by who created it or what kind of
exactly, yeah.
development it went through. And that's pretty exciting. It's really, yeah, amazing time, I think. Okay, Patrick,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like people to know about this scene or about yourself, or anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I'll just give a shout out. I think it's nestfab.org. That's my favorite
Okay.
NES related website, and they have a Discord server if you want to join that. And I have my own Discord for NestFab. If you want to join that, you can talk to me if you want to hear anything. So, yep, that's all I got.
Also remember, go to pubby.games, PUBBY.GAMES. Oh, so last question. I'm glad I said that.
Sure.
Pubby.
Oh, the name?
Yeah, what's that?
This is a stupid story. This is probably the stupidest thing I'll tell you all day.
That's all right. That's when we're gonna do it right at the end.
Again,
So.
when I was I don't know 6 or 7 or something. I'm American, and one time my family went to a pub, and I just thought that was a funny name because again I'm American. We call them bars usually.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that could be my nickname, Pubby,
Ah,
which is
that's
kind of
cool.
ironic because I don't drink alcohol now. Like I have zero connection to pubs.
But
I mean, it kind of fits in with homebrew. Homebrew's like
mhm.
kind of
Yeah, the
connected
double
out.
connotation. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, the name stuck, so I guess that's what people call me.
Yeah, it's easy to remember too, and it's nice. It rolls off the tongue. It feels good in the mouth. So yeah, Pubby.
Yep, it
Thanks,
works.
thanks, Patrick. Thank you so much. Okay, go to
Yeah.
pubby.games and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you.